No TV show had ever been this much of a controversy. All in the Family changed sitcoms into battles about social issues. Then came the episode where Edith Bunker dealt with something no one could have expected. CBS was very scared. The network needed to set up private showings for police and doctors before it was broadcasted. Local stations threatened to not participate. Production stopped completely for almost a month while executives discussed whether to end the show for good. When it finally aired, it attracted 40 million viewers and transformed television forever. This is the complete story about that scene. Everything began with a British show and a difficult relationship between a father and his son. Norman Lear said he came up with the idea for All in the Family after reading about a British comedy show called Till Death Us Do Part. It made him think of his own father, who would shout at his mother to shut up, and she would reply by calling him the laziest white man I ever saw. These lines would later become famous in American TV history. Pero in 2025 ocurrió algo inesperado. Sally Struthers, who played Gloria on the show, said that Carol O'Connor was the one who found the British series during a trip to the UK. She said he took the idea directly to Lear but was not given any credit later. She kept the story secret for many years, waiting until Lear died before sharing it. That changed everything people believed about how the show started. The journey to television had its challenges. The first version of the show, named Justice for All, was created for ABC in late 1968. Carol O'Connor played the character Archie Justice. Gene Stapleton played the role of his wife Edith. But ABC had second thoughts. At that time they had recently canceled a shocking and inappropriate sketch show called Turn On. After just one episode, it scared them away from anything too risky, and Lear's pilot had no chance. Still, the idea was not gone yet. ABC requested another chance. Lear quickly produced a second version, now named Those Were the Days, and filmed it on February 16, 1969. O'Connor and Stapleton came back, but Gloria and her husband were now portrayed by different actors. Ainsi ABC se retiró. Lear showed it to different buyers. For a brief time it seemed like it could turn into a movie instead of a TV show. Pero luego CBS intervino. At that time CBS was very successful in ratings, but they faced a problem. Most of their popular shows like Green Acres and the Beverly Hillbillies were watched by older people living in rural areas. Los anunciantes no querían eso. They wanted younger viewers from the city who had money to spend. In 1971 CBS began reducing their rural programs. A cast member from Green Acres joked that they stopped doing anything with a tree in it. That's when All in the Family had its chance. CBS once attempted to buy the American rights to Till Death Us Do Part to create a version for Jackie Gleason, but Lear got there first. Gleason, Tom Bosley and Jack Warden were all seen as potential candidates for the main role. Mickey Rooney was offered the role at first, but he declined it. He believed the show would put Norman Lear in danger. He said to him, "They're going to shoot you in the street." Rooney claimed the character was not American and warned that the show would backfire on Lear. It did not. Instead, Carol O'Connor got the role that would define him for life. O'Connor wasn't Lear's first pick, but once he got the role he made it his own. The official story is that Lear watched O'Connor in a war comedy and liked his expressive face. But once more Struthers surprised everyone in 2025. She mentioned that O'Connor was the first to see the British version, and he brought it to Lear hoping to be the main actor. She says that he never received recognition for helping to create the show. That statement added another layer to the already complex story of one of TV's most famous characters. Gene Stapleton, who portrayed Edith, added warmth to a show that was quite harsh. Lear saw her on stage in Damn Yankees. Most actresses didn't perform the role well, but Stapleton viewed Edith as more than just Archie's doormat. She realized that Edith had small moments of strength, moments that pierced through Archie's arrogance. Stapleton, born in 1923 in New York, spent many years acting on stage before television reached out to her. She received 3 Emmys and 2 Golden Globes for her role. Right from the beginning, in the first pilot of 1968, she stood alongside O'Connor, portraying a character that would become one of the most beloved TV moms ever. Rob Reiner, who portrayed Michael Meathead Stivic, also faced challenges on his journey. He tried out during the ABC pilot phase but was not accepted. He then got a writing job on a short-lived Andy Griffith show called Headmaster. He portrayed a teacher involved in a relationship with a student. It was a risky job, but it caught Lear's attention. Reiner said that Lear realized he had grown and gave him another opportunity. When CBS took over the project, Reiner and Struthers were the third group of actors chosen to play Mike and Gloria. Reiner won 2 Emmys for his role, but he always had bigger goals. He became a director and made movies such as This Is Spinal Tap, The Princess Bride, and When Harry Met Sally. Sally Struthers, who acted as Gloria, faced her own challenges. She was born in Portland in 1947 and had just lost her job at the Tim Conway Comedy Hour before she tried out for a new role. In a podcast from 2025, she mentioned that she never really liked Lear and that she once wondered why she was chosen instead of Penny Marshall, who seemed a better fit for the role of Edith on paper. Lear told her it was because she and O'Connor both had blue eyes and round faces. He believed that would strengthen the bond between the father and daughter. Struthers won 2 Emmys for her acting, but by season 5 she wanted to leave. Ola gustó $40,000, tratando de romper su contrato pero perdió. Ola se quedó 3 temporadas más. Before her, 2 other actresses had played the role. Ola fue la tercera y última Gloria. When All in the Family first aired on January 12, 1971, no one thought it would change television for good. In the past, sitcoms were simple, safe, and respectful. Families were happy, jokes were light-hearted, and actual problems were not shown. Pero Norman Lear creía que America estaba lista para más. He got his inspiration from a British show named Till Death Us Do Part. He wanted to bring that same intense energy to American TV. CBS was anxious. ABC had already declined, but CBS's new president, Robert D. Wood, took a daring risk and everything transformed. The first episode was shown at 9:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. Only 15% of viewers watched. They even hired extra phone operators in case upset viewers called to complain. But what happened next was more than they expected. In a year, 50 million Americans were tuning in every week. No era solo una comedia. It was a mirror, a simple and truthful mirror that showed the tensions between different generations. Archie Bunker was loud, stubborn, and resistant to change. He often argued with his liberal son-in-law Mike about many topics, but neither of them was always correct. That was the smart idea. The show didn't provide simple answers. It displayed messy, real people disagreeing about real problems. It didn't avoid difficult subjects. Everyone in the family dealt with everything: racism, anti-Semitism, abortion, rape, menopause, divorce, and the Vietnam War. One episode shared the story of Edith's cousin who had secretly been in a lesbian relationship for many years. Another showed white supremacists damaging the home of the bunker, believing the people there were Jewish. In a memorable moment, Archie shared that his father would lock him in a closet. This explained his bias. It didn't justify it, but it made him relatable. That was the strength of the show. No dio un sermon. It got people thinking. In the beginning, CBS was unsure how to handle it. They were so scared of negative reactions that they put a warning before each episode. It explained to viewers that the show aimed to reveal prejudice by joking about it. However, the pressure happening behind the scenes was just as intense as what was shown on screen. Norman Lear constantly battled with the CBS censors. He couldn't say "God damn it" in the pilot. At one time, CBS attempted to shift the show to a later time slot. Lear took legal action against them. That's how serious it became. Still, the show became very popular. From 1971 to 1976, it was the top show in America. No other show had done that before. It won 4 Emmys in a row for the Best Comedy Series. It won 22 Emmys and received 74 nominations. Carroll O'Connor, who played Archie, won several awards. One of his biggest successes came in 1979 for the episode California, Here We Are. That year, the final episode was watched by 40.2 million people, and even after it was over, the story continued. All in the Family lasted for 9 seasons and had 205 episodes. Then it became Archie Bunker's Place, which aired for 4 more years, during which the Bunkers took in a foster child. Mike y Gloria se mudaron. Archie purchased a bar. The show continued to develop. It also started 5 spin-off shows, including The Jeffersons, which lasted longer than the original, running for 11 seasons. By the time it finished, All in the Family had created a TV world unlike anything seen before. But perhaps the most shocking moment happened on Christmas Day in 1976. The episode was titled The Draft Dodger and starred David Brewster, a young man who escaped to Canada to avoid going to war in Vietnam. David was not seen as a bad person. He was peaceful, reflective and truthful. Mike invited him to Christmas dinner without informing Archie. Archie had also invited his friend Pinky Peterson, whose son had passed away in the war. The fight was intense. David attempted to clarify his decision. Archie was very angry. Mike stood up for him, saying that what David did required a lot of courage. It was one of the most powerful episodes in the show's history. Sin embargo, había un problema. At an important moment, Archie said, "I don't want to talk about that goddamn war no more." CBS got nervous. They made the line change. It turned into That Terrible War. And the dubbing was clear. Lear was very angry. The change took away the emotional impact of the scene. Even with the changes, the episode had a strong impact. It attracted 34.5 million viewers, making it the most viewed episode of that season. The timing of the event was perfect. Just weeks before, Jimmy Carter had won the election for president. Una de sus promesas de campaña fue perdonar a todos los que evitaban el servicio militar. Just 27 days after The Draft Dodger was shown, he accomplished it. El 21 de enero de 1977, su primer día completo en el cargo, Carter issued Proclamation 4483 giving a complete pardon. Suddenly people like the made-up David Brewster could return home. Around 50,000 Americans were living in exile. That TV episode showed the exact moment the country changed. On February 19, 1972, American television changed forever. It took place in Season 2, Episode 21 of All in the Family, in an episode named Sammy's Visit. At first look the setup seemed easy. Sammy Davis Jr., acting as himself, forgot his briefcase in Archie Bunker's taxi. He arrived at Archie's house to retrieve it. But what happened next shocked the nation and made television history. Archie Bunker was already known as the most openly prejudiced character on television. He used phrases like the coloreds and viewed the world with a limited racist perspective. When one of America's favorite black entertainers entered Archie's house, viewers sensed something big was about to happen, but they didn't anticipate the ending. The idea for the episode actually came from Sammy Davis Jr. He said on The Tonight Show in 1972 that he wanted to be on All in the Family. Writer Bill Dana created a plot that would have Sammy meet Archie. Series creator Norman Lear was concerned it might seem like a trick, but the idea was too great to ignore. When filming started, Sammy felt nervous. He even requested cue cards, but director John Rich said no. Everyone had to work under the same circumstances. While the cameras were filming, Sammy spoke each line confidently. He didn't react when Archie made his typical racist comments. Instead, he responded with clever comebacks and dry humor. The crowd enjoyed it. Sammy later said, and it did. Archie tried to be nice, but his real feelings kept coming out. That tension reached its breaking point. Then came the last moment, the kiss. It wasn't romantic. It was surprising and strong. Before leaving, Sammy turned and kissed Archie on the cheek. The crowd cheered loudly. They laughed, clapped and cheered for 38 seconds straight. It was one of the longest responses in TV history. Director John Rich said they had to shorten the laugh because it went on too long. Él lo describió así. Bang, él está besando. We entered, and Archie had a look of surprise, and then the audience went crazy. But this moment was not only funny, it was a strong statement. A black man kissing a white man on American TV in 1972 was not common. Include that it was Archie Bunker, a symbol of bigotry, which turned it into a social issue. Only 5 years before, the United States Supreme Court had finally ruled against laws that banned interracial marriage. That was in 1967 with the Loving versus Virginia decision. Before that, 16 states had laws that banned marriage between black and white people. By the time Sammy kissed Archie, those old hurts were still fresh. There had been kisses between different races on TV before. In 1968, Star Trek featured Captain Kirk kissing Lieutenant Uhura. That moment received hate mail, particularly from viewers in the South. Imagine the shock when two men, one black and one white, touched each other on national television. It was meant to be just another birthday. On October 16, 1977, more than 40 million Americans watched All in the Family. Lo que vieron esa noche no fue solo una comedia. It was a significant cultural event. Gene Stapleton's character, Edith Bunker, reached the age of 50. The episode started with laughter. Su familia estaba planeando una fiesta sorpresa. Edith estaba sola en casa, esperando. Un hombre tocó su puerta. Él dijo que era detective de la policía. Él mintió. He was not there to keep anyone safe. Él era el peditor. Su nombre era Detective Lambert. Pero era un depredador. Little by little, tension grew. Edith tried to remain calm. She talked aimlessly, picked up the phone and did everything to buy time. Then Archie walked in briefly to get a punch bowl. The man was hiding in the closet. He whispered to Edith that if she said anything, he would kill them both. The oven timer went off. Edith told him that the birthday cake was on fire. Él la dejó allá. Ella no solo tomó el pastel. She took her only opportunity. She struck his face with the hot pan and ran away. A few minutes later, at her surprise party, she fell into Archie's arms. The audience was shocked. Laughter changed into tears. A sitcom became a source of support. This wasn't a random decision. Norman Lear, the creator of the show, had a goal. He wanted to demonstrate that sexual assault was not just a crime that occurred in dark places or only affected young women. It could happen to anyone, even to someone like Edith, and especially to someone like her. Lear contacted Gail Abarbanel, the leader of the Rape Treatment Center in Santa Monica. He asked her a question. If you had the chance to speak to 40 million people about rape, what message would you want to share? She didn't only respond, she became part of the writer's room. She sat with them, rewrote scenes and shaped the story. She made sure it was genuine, not exaggerated. Lear even borrowed the idea from another show and gave it to Edith because he knew it would have a bigger impact. The story continued even after the cake. La segunda parte del episodio se transmitió la semana siguiente. It showed Edith having a hard time, crying and hiding. Ella no quería denunciarlo. Ella se echó la culpa. Ella dudó. But in the end she chose. She recognized the man. She didn't do it for revenge but to prevent him from harming someone else. CBS executives were anxious behind the scenes. Advertisers said they might withdraw. Local stations in conservative regions did not want to broadcast it. It was 9 p.m., family time. This was meant to be a comedy segment but Lear stood his ground. Elle avançó. CBS held private showings for police, doctors and therapists before the episode was broadcast. They wanted experts to understand how victims think, how they react, and how to assist them. Newspapers didn't want to say what the episode was really about. They just said that Edith went through a crisis. Pero la audiencia lo sabía, y siguieron viendo. That year All in the Family was not only the top show, it reflected a country that was avoiding a difficult reality. Carroll O'Connor was at the center of this controversy. He played Archie Bunker, the loud, stubborn, old-fashioned man with old views. Pero O'Connor era todo lo contrario. Él creía en los sindicatos. He had faith in people, and he wasn't scared to pause everything to show it. In 1974, CBS had to deal with a strike. Maintenance workers were protesting. O'Connor acted quickly. He did not want to go too far. La grabación se detuvo. I've been a union man my whole life, he told reporters. I won't end a strike. This was not a minor protest. He was the biggest star of the most popular show in America, and he left. O'Connor y Norman Lear tuvieron una relación tensa. They frequently argued about scripts, money and politics. O'Connor was straightforward. He claimed that Lear was trying to damage his reputation. Lear believed O'Connor had high expectations. Nonetheless, they continued to work because something more important was involved. In one interview, O'Connor said that the show could continue without him. Archie said there's a lot going on in the bunker house before he arrives home. He wasn't just pretending. The producers had really talked about removing him from the show, but he wasn't scared. He was prepared to march, if the reason was just. Esto no fue la primera vez. In 1972, when CBS attempted to use machines instead of skilled workers, employees went on strike for 8 weeks. O'Connor was with them.
He would not work with people who crossed the picket line. Los episodios fueron retrasados. Los espectadores esperaron. O'Connor stood firm. Aunque pudo haber interpretado a Archie Bunker, Carol O'Connor no se parecía en nada a él. He taught at a university. He read philosophy, fought for workers, stood up for justice, and understood exactly who Archie was, a sad man filled with hate. He once said, that's why he played him so well. He knew the price of not knowing. By the time Edith's 50th birthday episode aired, O'Connor and Lear had argued, made up and changed television together. They transformed a comedy into a powerful social influence. They addressed racism, sexism, violence, and now sexual assault, and they didn't do it softly. They faced it directly. One morning in January 2025, Sally Struthers made a shocking announcement that surprised everyone. On a podcast called Let's Talk About That, she mentioned something that changed the reputation of one of America's most famous shows. She believes that Norman Lear didn't actually create All in the Family. Fui Carol O'Connor. Sure. Please provide the text you would like me to simplify. Archie Bunker, who first wanted to adapt the British sitcom Till Death Us Do Part for TV in the US, Struthers, said that Lear pretended to be the creator for 52 years, and only told the truth after he died in December 2023. At age 101, it was a daring statement that changed the story people believed to be true. O'Connor's job wasn't only to act. In past interviews, he said he rewrote the whole pilot by hand and also recorded all the parts himself. Archie, Edith, Mike, and the neighbor kid. He submitted an audio tape in which he did all the voices. Then Lear took that and made it into the real script. Even years later, Lear revealed something surprising on the Mike Douglas show. He pointed at O'Connor and said, "The best writer this show ever had was this fellow right here." That comment surprised O'Connor, who once mentioned that Lear was never good at giving credit. Hey Mus. O'Connor had watched the British version while he was in London. Even though producer Howard Elderman bought the rights first, O'Connor was very involved in efforts to bring it to American TV. He didn't just shape Archie Bunker's character. He was the voice and the attitude behind it. He had a genuine New York accent and came from a working-class background. The existence. Lear even said that it was O'Connor's personality that influenced the tone. But at that time, O'Connor didn't believe the show would be successful. He requested a round-trip plane ticket to Rome in his contract, in case it didn't work out. Ese era su plan de respaldo. Instead, the show was the top program in the United States for 5 years in a row. Struthers did not say anything about all this for many years, but after Lear died, she felt free to talk. In that podcast interview, she not only said that Lear stole credit, she said he left her out of parties, acted cold towards her, and once told her, "We hired you because just like Carol O'Connor, you have blue eyes and a fat face." It affected her so much that she hired lawyers to cancel her contract. She spent about $40,000, a huge amount in the 1970s, trying to leave the show. Ella perdió el caso, y tuvo que seguir interpretando a Gloria. Later she came back for Archie Bunker's place and starred in her own show Gloria, but the wounds never got better. Struthers said those comments stayed with her forever. Behind the scenes, the conflict between Lear and O'Connor was not only about creativity. Fue legal. In 1974, O'Connor left the filming location and filed a lawsuit. Él dijo que Lear no cumplió sus promesas. His contract included recognition for writing and control over the script, but he got neither. He was making $25,000 for each episode at that time, which is about $137,000 now. Pero el dinero no resolvió el problema. In Lear's 2014 memoir, he talked about O'Connor's anger. In one episode, called The Elevator Story, O'Connor chose not to perform. Archie was stuck in an elevator with a Hispanic woman who was about to have a baby. O'Connor cried while filming. He said he disliked the episode, disliked the show, and disliked Lear. Lear believed that if he gave in, the message of the show would be lost, so he resisted. O'Connor came back, and the episode won an Emmy. Despite their disagreements, Lear said he couldn't picture anyone else in the role of Archie. He once said that when he saw O'Connor audition for the first time, he felt, "Oh my God," all over his body. Este es Archie. And even after all the chaos, he said it was totally worth it. The show covered a wide range of topics: racism, sexism, homosexuality, abortion, rape and menopause, are subjects that American TV had never been bold enough to address. It made people feel uneasy. It created a historic moment, but it also exhausted the people who made it. O'Connor was a progressive person acting as a racist bigot. He taught English before. He believed in fairness for everyone. Still, he had to say things that contradicted all of his beliefs. El a menudo peleaba con los escritores sobre el Goya. The emotional burden of that role was hard to bear, and the battle wasn't only among the creators. The cast had its own issues. Struthers talked about Betty White on the podcast, describing her as passive-aggressive. During a game show recording, White told her not to eat a cookie because she didn't need it. That one moment, that small remark, stayed with Struthers for years.